Life and Debt, a film by Stephanie Black. This film is inspired by the nonfiction work A Small Place by Jamaica Kincaid. This film takes place in Jamaica around the late 90s or the early 2000s. This video is about Jamaica and its financial state. Jamaica has been struggling financially ever since its independence from England. Jamaica is very much in debt to the IMF, or better known as the International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank. The IMF policies are basically keeping Jamaica in debt because they are charging so much interest on their loans, and their policies can only be changed by an 80% vote, which is basically impossible because the USA, Japan, England, Canada, Germany, and Italy control more than 80% of the votes. This film argues that this has caused great damage to the Jamaican industry and farming. This film shows the viewpoint of Jamaican natives compared to the tourist viewpoints on Jamaica, both very different. Tourists only see the happy, sunny side of Jamaica, whereas the natives are not as fortunate. Throughout the movie, it talks about the poverty that Jamaica is going through and gives us a taste of what it is like to live through the harsh economy through use of interviews with natives. The natives in this movie discuss the hardships of their daily life. This video also contains a special appearance by the former Prime Minister, Michael Manley, and his views on the issues. A lot of farmers are struggling in Jamaica because the cost for Jamaican-grown food is a lot higher than imported food. Therefore, people are not buying it as much. It shows how powdered milk is being imported in and being sold for way less than fresh Jamaican dairy milk, and so the dairy farmers are really struggling. It also talks about banana farmers and how they are in competition with the Chiquita Banana Company, and are basically being outdid by them for prices. Natives who work in the factories are not having it any easier. In the movie, it talks about how a lot of women who work in the factories are barely making $30 in American money every week, and most of that money is being taxed. It also showed footage of Asian immigrants coming into work in the factories and taking a lot of the natives' jobs. These immigrants are being paid even less than the natives, and so a lot of jobs are being taken away from them. This presents another argument, saying that Jamaica is unfortunately offering underpaid labor. In the documentary, it shows how the workers in these factories are given terrible working conditions. One of the factory workers mentions how her daily quota is to make $600 a day, and if they don't meet that quota, they don't get paid in full. So basically, this documentary is arguing that the IMF is allowing the economy of Jamaica to be destroyed and gradually turning Jamaica into a slaved market for richer nations. My personal view on this argument so far agrees with the film. I mean, I am no expert in this subject, and I do not know too much about it from a true perspective, but based on what I learned from this film, it seems to me that Jamaica is really in need of some help, thanks to the IMF. I agree with the argument that Jamaica is basically in trouble because of the IMF and their policies. If the IMF didn't screw them over by providing loans, but requiring them to be paid back in such a short time, then they could have been better off. One could argue that Jamaica shouldn't have even bothered with the IMF in their system, and they would have been better off. But it seems to me that they were in desperate need and also were not in a good economic state when they became an independent country. This film did a pretty good job at showing the perspective of the natives and the hardships that they truly struggle. It makes me feel privileged to live in America where I am free and able to work for a reasonable income that can better my life. Jamaican natives are not so lucky. This film showed a perspective I have never seen or even thought about. It was definitely an eye-opener.